Hi, I'm Janice.
And I'm Dave, and we're living at No Fixed Address. Today we're going to show you how we get those in there. So I'm sure some of you are thinking, well, it's obvious. You just drive the bikes up this ramp and in and you're done. But more often than not, that's more easily said than done. Quite often the ramp, as it is right now, is wet from dew and you have very little traction on the ramp in that situation. And also, the two bikes are fairly wide, and to get both of them in here, there's not very much clearance between the side of the bike and the door frame, and obviously we don't want to damage either the bike or the trailer when loading them. And the lack of traction usually means when I drive them in, I have to take a run at it. So it's kind of chaotic at times when you are racing this bike up this ramp as quickly as you can, not hitting the door frame, not hitting the other bike that might already be in here, and stopping at the right spot when we get in there. So we're going to show you how we do it now to avoid all of that. So it occurred to us at some point, why don't we use a winch and pull the bikes in instead of driving them in? And so we went online and we found this little portable winch made by Warn. It's 115 volts plugged into the wall. It's got a 15-foot cable on it. I think it's got a 1,000-pound capacity. And so that's plenty for pulling a bike up the ramp. We went to Lowe's or Home Depot or something and bought some cables and hooks to make this little bridle system here. And on the other end we got rope, and we'll show you how we use all of this now.
I take care of doing all the rigging on the inside of the trailer, and Dave takes care of actually driving the bikes in. So it's a pretty simple process. We just have to hook the cables up to the D-rings that are attached to the trailer. I should mention that before we start anything, we put all of our straps in rough location of where we're going to need them to be, so we're not scrambling all over the place trying to find them once we've got the bikes loaded in the trailer. The next step will be extending the cable.
just connect these on like this and leave them sticking forward so I don't get caught as we drive the bike up to the ramp. So these will be ready for the winch lines to hook onto once we get to the ramp. Now we're ready to do the second bike, so Janice will get the winch ready again. And extend the cable again. We just bought a little short 6-foot extension cord to use on this winch because it only comes with about a foot of cord on it. Kind of useless that way. But the 6-foot cord works really well because we've outlets on both sides in here, and that's about as far as we need to go, and it keeps it short enough it's not getting tangled in stuff. So I just leave those splayed out like that so that they're not in the way when I bring the bike up between them. We may not be able to see that very well on the camera, but the last little bit of cable on this is painted red, and that's to indicate you don't want to spool the cable out any further than that, which gives us about 15 feet exposed cable right now. One of the things we really wish the winch had was the ability to free spool. In other words, be able to extend the cable without having to run the motor to do that. I mean, this is fine, it just takes a little longer to extend the cable, but it would be nice if we could just pull the cable out in a free spool mode. So Janice will get the next wheel chock ready to put in place once the bike's up in here. And once she's got that set aside but handy, we'll be able to bring the next bike in. One of the nice things about these Condor wheel chocks is, as you see, we've driven the bike into it and it's just being held there now. We don't need to worry about it falling over while we strap it down. Janice generally takes care of the front end of the bike, getting the straps hooked in, and I take care of the back. You'll notice that we have to double up straps on some of the D-rings. We try not to do that though with the two bikes. Each of those is on their own D-rings. The smoker is hooked down to some of the same ones as the first bike, but it's not putting a huge load on the D-ring like the bike. fastenings are. So we just loosely put those in first while we wait to get the back hooked up. On the back we use these, I don't know what you call them, self-extending ratchet straps, which are really nice because you don't have a big long piece of strap getting in the way. And you just take out whatever you need. Okay, so now that the back is tightened in, we can put the final tension on these guys and lock the bike in. And that's it. We're loaded. Ready to hit the road.
Little pro tip, we use our mats that we normally keep at the bottom of the stairs under the edge of the trailer just to protect it from the gravel and dirt and other things that can scratch up our paint job.
Sometimes the ground is not level where the ramp meets it, and in that case we will roll one of the mats up to take up space so that we're not putting a twist on the ramp.
So that's all there is to it.
Yeah, it's taken all of the stress out of our loading day. It used to be quite hectic and worrisome getting the bikes in, and this has made it so much easier.
We have a list of all the major components in the description below.
And you'll note that the cost of this approach is not insignificant. The biggest cost, of course, is the price of the winch itself, but we look at it as being cheap insurance for what we feel would have been an inevitable accident.
And we want to say thanks for watching.
And please consider subscribing.
And giving us a thumbs up.
And hit that little bell symbol down below to get notifications each time we release a new video.
I'll see you next time.